Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. This week I'm speaking with Greg from Off Axis. He has designed some of the helmets for some of your favorite drivers, including Matt Crafton, Johnny Sauter, Todd Gilliland, and more. Greg, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to have you on. It's been cool because people listening to this, they've had a mixture of drivers and different people from the industry, and I feel like people that design the helmets usually you don't get the spotlight necessarily, but I feel like a lot of people, whenever you're watching, you notice a good looking helmet.
Yeah. We try to be that, uh, their face, I guess, or something like that in the race car because you can't really see the drivers. So that when you look through the window net or have a cool picture, you see the helmet. Or when you get out in victory lane, hopefully they still have their helmet on. But yeah, you got a good mix here, man. I've been listening to a couple, and I saw him following Randy LaJoie, so that's big shoes to try to fill for the next episode. But I'll do my best.
We'll see. Randy was a really really awesome interview, so we'll see if we can try to follow that up with a good one. So what came first for you? Was it a passion for motorsports or for airbrushing?
That's a good question, man. A lot of people don't usually ask me that. So, a little bit about my background and my past. I grew up in not a direct racing family, but my grandparents and my parents, aunt and uncles, they all raced, and I some of the earliest childhood memories I can remember is being at a racetrack.
Mm-hmm.
And then kind of got away from it in high school. I picked up an airbrush and had a really really good art teacher who really gave me the passion for art and the business side of it. And, from there, I just kind of started really honing in my art skills. And then racing kind of came back around after high school. And I don't know, I just traveled all around the country with a dirt late model team. And one day I just kind of clicked and I was like, oh, this helmet is artwork.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just something they buy out of a magazine. It's like it's custom artwork. And it would just kind of click that the two worlds could collide with this helmet. And not only that, it was a career path. No one
Mm-hmm.
had ever shown me. When you take a test in high school to figure out what you're going to do for the rest of your life, sometimes it says plumber or electrical technician or whatever. A helmet painter isn't on that list.
Mm-hmm.
So for me to kind of figure that out and to think that I could make a career path of it was kind of that aha moment, I guess. So I don't know. I don't know which one really came first. It just kind of happened accidentally, I guess.
It's cool too because I feel like from a either from an artist standpoint or from a driver standpoint, really your hands are I feel like a lot of times tied when it comes to a paint scheme because you got to have your sponsors colors or whatever. But I feel like a helmet is kind of that last ground that a driver is able to really have their personality show, and then as an airbrush artist, you're able to sit down with them and work it out that way.
Yeah, so I would say it's probably 50-50 on a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's you have a lot of drivers who know exactly what they want, and the sponsor has a lot of say in it, and it has to go through a list of a checklist throughout the corporate
Mm-hmm.
logos and registered trademarks and a lot of little things. And then you have people like Matt Crafton that you mentioned that just say, "Here's my helmet, do whatever you want," and throw my daughter on the back and make it the coolest thing ever. So it's a good balance in here, I guess. Sometimes you have free will and free range to do whatever you want, and then sometimes the corporate reins pull a little harder,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of gotta make them happy because in the end they're the ones paying for it, and they're the ones you're trying to represent their logos as best you can on the track. And like you said, it is artwork, and you want to catch people's eye, and you want them looking at those sponsor logos more than anybody else. So
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to put the best artwork you possibly can on each one of these, I guess.
So I guess digging a little deeper into it, I imagine it's way different depending on the driver, sponsor, etc. But what's kind of the typical process for designing a helmet?
So our typical process is we do renderings of everything. There's a lot of helmet painters out there that just get the helmet and paint it and hope that they like it, which
Mm-hmm.
is it's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. My thing is I don't want to repaint the helmet. So if I have to take a half an hour to draw out a rendering real quick, I know that where I'm going is they have an idea where we're going with it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, it's not just me painting in my shop anymore. It used to be me in a garage by myself, but now I have this awesome team with Mike and Ryan and Noel here that I can farm this stuff out to. And the cool part about our shop is that it is not just me. It's all these really, really great artists, and you can bounce ideas off of each other, and you have instant feedback from really, really good artists, and they're all really good at what they do specifically. So, Noel is really good at the portraits. Mike is really crushing on just nice, clean designs. So
Mm-hmm.
once a driver comes in here a couple times, they kind of get used to having one artist paint their stuff, and that's really cool to see that personality and stuff come out through each artist, I guess, and have a relationship with each one of them that when a helmet comes through, they know exactly their style and what they look for. So I think the coolest part of all of that is how different each driver is, but then how different each artist is here in the shop, and how they all merge together. And I guess it's my job to try to figure out which puzzle piece fits the best.
Wow. So, along with making the helmets look great, you also put a lot of effort into ensuring that it's safe as can be. What are some ways that the airbrush and design can either improve or impair the safety of a helmet?
I don't think it really improves or impairs, but like Ryan Newman is one of our clients, and when he goes through a giant crash like you see at the Daytona 500,
Mm-hmm.
there's always a pit in your stomach that you put that helmet together. I'm not the last person it touches, obviously, but it did go through our hands, and you don't ever want to see your friends get hurt, and you definitely don't want to see them get hurt with a safety piece that you put together. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that we take lightly at all. It's probably the most serious thing in our shop, is that we want to make a really, really good looking helmet. We want to represent the sponsor, but we want to make sure that every piece is put back on that helmet correctly, and that when someone hits the wall at 200 miles per hour, there's not a doubt in my mind that helmet wasn't put together correctly or anything's wrong on it. So it's a big piece. When you slow down and think of it like that, it really helps to make sure you're doing your job correctly, and that this is a very, very important piece inside that race car.
Okay, yeah, because I'd read on, I think it was either your site or another site where it talked about how, I don't know if it necessarily affects when it comes to NASCAR, but in other series, I don't know if it was like the air channels or whatever, like you have to be careful when painting that. So I didn't know if that was a big deal or not, or.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It's a debate back and forth always of whether you run a carbon air channel and try to glue it on, or you try to run a clear air channel. Typically, the clear air channel is the way to go, and we will not paint those. So
Mm-hmm.
they basically get double-sided taped on after our paint job goes on, and they're prone to breaking, which is it's a good thing. If they're in a wreck and get hit hard, they break off, or a nozzle breaks off, and we're okay with that. You just change it out as you go. But I'd rather see an air channel break than something get hung up and really hurt somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a big debate, especially right now, since a lot of places are trying to make their own products and aftermarket pieces. But I try to stick as close as I can to the actual helmet manufacturer's guidelines, and obviously we stick with NASCAR's guidelines as well.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite design that's came from the off-axis stable?
Oh man, I get asked this every interview, I think, and I'm just like any book author or somebody who's writing a sitcom or something like that. You're trying to put your best work into every piece
Mm-hmm.
you do. So when you spend 30 to 40 hours with a helmet, which is about how long it takes us to do one helmet, you got a lot of time invested in that, and it's not something we just rush through and send out the door and be done with, and collect a paycheck. It's something we want to try to make the best as possible. So I never really have one that just really stands out that I just love more than the others. Yes, there are a few that just happen to turn out better, but
Mm-hmm.
I think my favorite projects are like the ones with Justin Allgaier's daughter,
Mm-hmm.
who comes in every year for the playoffs, and we surprise him with a helmet. So seeing her grow up in our shop
Mm-hmm.
and get better every year and have different ideas for Justin's helmet is like the coolest thing ever for me. And I'll shut the whole shop down for a week just to do that every year. So, stuff like that. When somebody's retiring, we did a retirement helmet for David Reagan last year with his two daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Kenny Wallace, we did his last helmet. Anything that like has a bunch of pictures and you're sitting there looking at all of them, and then you get the stories when you give them the helmet of, oh, I remember this, I sat on the pole in 1980 whatever, and just seeing their excitement when they get a piece like that, I think is the coolest helmet. So I don't really have a design that I love more than the other, but definitely those projects like that have a lot of emotion and a lot of meaning are my favorite by far.
Yeah, I know as a fan, just simply like even go on the gallery you'll have on y'all's website, offaxispaint.com. What was cool was that I immediately went to the Kenny Wallace one, and I was like, man, I love those types of helmets. But then the other one that caught my eye was the Todd Gilliland's Napa one, because growing up I was a huge Napa fan, and that one caught my eye, and I was like, it's cool that you can sit there and it's not like you just have your one trick where every single one of your helmets is coming out with, all right, let's put a bunch of portraits on here, a bunch of pictures. I think it's cool when you can even take a simpler design and still make something from it.
Yeah, definitely. I like doing that stuff, and also like you mentioned the Napa. Like we're not the first ones to paint a Napa helmet
Mm-hmm.
by any means, So knowing that some other artist has made a helmet or has done this logo before you, and then trying to put your own spin on it and not copy what they're doing
Mm-hmm.
and make it your own, I think is one of the other coolest parts. And when you get a new sponsor and that's never been in the sport, and to do a helmet for them and to them to see something that they never thought would happen, when they were making the business or whatever, for them to see their logo on a helmet in a car is really cool too. But yeah, it's definitely tough sometimes to take a simpler design or something that somebody else has done and put your own spin on it. But that's part of our job, and that's what keeps us on our toes.
So finally, when I'm online looking through what your clients have said about your work, they always sound less like customers and more like close friends. What does it mean to you to have a business that is so respected within the industry?
Oh man, I hope we're respected. I don't know. It's definitely cool, man. I come from Missouri, from a very small town, and knowing that I could make a career out of this, and then just picking up and moving everything about 8 years ago out here, and not really knowing anybody to, walking through the garage now, and just about everybody, and everyone just stops in the shop just to say hi or anything like that is, it's very humbling. It's very cool. It reminds me of a good mentor of mine, Sam Bass. I think he
Mm-hmm.
was the same way, where he could walk through the garage and put a smile on anybody's face, and everybody knows him, and nobody really has anything bad to say about him. So that's kind of who I strive to be. Just about every other day is to be the best artist I can, and be a good person, and leave my mark on this industry someday. And I hope I'm doing that.
Yeah, when I was younger watching the sport, there was all these people that I would look and say, "Oh man, like they're always doing this, or whatever." But as I've gotten older and had the opportunity to, meet some drivers, meet some people within the sport, it's been cool to find the people that aren't just, they have this awesome smile and they're this awesome person when the camera's rolling, but then, when the camera's away, they just kind of turn into, very short or whatever. And I know with you, like I said, looking online, but also when I did my interview with Hunter Smith, it was cool because afterwards your company came up and we talked about you being included in the NASCAR Heat Games, which you're always my sponsor when I have to design my fire suit, by the way.
That's awesome.
But even like just hearing him talk about like, man, yeah, Greg's awesome. He's done this, and it's cool instead of hearing someone say, yeah, Greg's cool, but so that was something I definitely took away from that interview, as being like, man, this Greg guy, he looks super cool, on social media, but also hear someone who, has worked closely with him that's sitting there talking about how he's a really good guy and all.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, man. That makes me feel good. Makes me feel like I know what I'm doing, I guess. My biggest thing is, man, I came out here with a U-Haul trailer and like $300, and I had a lot of help from a lot of people to get where I am, and I'm a big believer in paying it forward,
Mm-hmm.
and Hunter is one of those businesses that I see a lot of potential in, and I'll do anything I can to help him. I wouldn't say get to my level. I'm not at the top by any means, but to help him in his path and to achieve a dream. I think it's the coolest thing ever when you see people set out to what they want to do and achieve it. So anything I can do to help other people do that, I think it's more rewarding than painting helmets, man. So that's what I hope I leave on this sport.
That's awesome. So typically at this point, I let people plug whatever they want to plug. So if there's anything, your websites or anything you want to plug, the floor is yours.
I'll definitely check out more Armchair Racefan. I've been listening to a lot of them. So um, I guess just Off Axis Paint. Look us up on Instagram. That's usually the best one. It's more visual, and we're really good about mentioning and talking with people on all of our social platforms. So, and we give away stuff. So definitely check out our Twitter. And I don't know, I guess on any of our podcasts, I've enjoyed doing all these podcasts like we were talking about earlier. The COVID deal is kind of shut down, having drivers and crew chiefs in here because they want people, them to stay away from everybody. But
Mm-hmm.
I've had a chance to interview a lot of musicians and cool friends that normally wouldn't be on our podcast. So definitely look up the Off Axis podcast and tell us what you think about it.
That's awesome. Thank you very much for joining me today, Greg.